I'm Rachel, a 28-year-old from Charlotte, North Carolina. My fiancé, Tom, and I have been planning our wedding and recently booked a local country club for our reception. The venue came highly recommended, and since we know several members, it felt like the perfect choice for our special day. Excited about our decision, I shared the news with my two best friends, including my future maid of honor, Sarah, who has been a member of the club for 20 years. To my surprise, Sarah became upset, accusing me of stealing the venue she had always envisioned for her own wedding, even though she isn't currently engaged. Sarah sent me lengthy texts expressing her disappointment and claiming I went behind her back. I was taken aback, as I had no idea she had such strong feelings about the venue, and I never intended to hurt her. Feeling conflicted and seeking advice, I turned to an online community. The overwhelming consensus was that I hadn't done anything wrong, as venues can't be reserved by individuals who aren't even engaged. Many suggested that while Sarah's feelings were understandable, she was overreacting and that I should proceed with my plans without guilt. This situation has caused significant stress and strain on our friendship. While I value our relationship, I also believe that my wedding decisions should be based on what feels right for Tom and me. I hope Sarah can come to understand this, and we can find a way to move past this conflict. When the engagement ring first slipped onto my finger 6 months ago, I never expected my wedding planning would destroy a 15-year friendship. Tom proposed on a crisp autumn evening at the Charlotte Botanical Gardens, surrounding us with the vibrant red and orange hues of falling leaves. We celebrated with champagne under the stars, making promises about our perfect day. It felt like nothing could tarnish our happiness. Sarah was the first person I called after my parents. She squealed with delight, insisting on coming over immediately to see the ring. That night, she brought expensive champagne and a wedding planning binder she'd apparently been keeping for me. "I've been waiting for this day forever," she gushed, flipping through Pinterest boards she'd secretly created. "We're going to plan the most perfect wedding Charlotte has ever seen." For the first few months, Sarah was the dream maid of honor. She accompanied me to dress fittings, researched photographers, and spent hours discussing color schemes. "I know what you like better than you know yourself," she'd often joke, and it felt true. Sarah and I had been inseparable since freshman year of college, sharing apartments, vacations, and all our deepest secrets. Or so I thought. The Oakwood Country Club wasn't initially on our venue list. Tom and I had toured 5 locations, feeling underwhelmed by each one. "They're either too stuffy or too casual," I complained to Sarah over brunch one Sunday. "Nothing feels right." "What about Oakwood?" suggested Melissa, our other best friend who joined us. "My cousin had her reception there last year. The sunset views over the golf course are incredible." I noticed something flash across Sarah's face, a momentary tightening around her eyes, but it disappeared so quickly I thought I'd imagined it. "That's an interesting idea," Sarah said smoothly. "Though it's probably booked years in advance." "It's worth checking," I replied, making a note on my phone. The following week, Tom's parents mentioned they were close friends with Oakwood's events director and offered to arrange a tour. When we visited, I fell in love immediately. The grand ballroom with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking manicured gardens, the courtyard with twinkling lights strung between ancient oak trees, it was everything I hadn't known I wanted. "It's perfect," Tom whispered, squeezing my hand as we stood on the terrace. "There's actually been a cancellation for next May," the events director mentioned. "If you're interested, I could hold the date temporarily." It felt like fate. We put down a deposit that day. I called Sarah immediately after, bubbling with excitement. We found it. Our perfect venue. The silence on the other end lasted just a beat too long. "Oh. Where?" Her voice sounded strained. "Oakwood Country Club. Tom's parents know the events director, and they had a cancellation for our ideal date. Can you believe our luck?" Another pause. "You booked Oakwood?" Each word sounded carefully measured. "Yes. I can't wait to show you. They have this incredible terrace where we can have the cocktail hour, Anne. I need to go, Sarah interrupted. I'll call you later. The first text came 3 hours later. I can't believe you would do this to me. Confused, I called immediately, but she didn't answer. Instead, more texts flooded in. You knew Oakwood was my dream venue. I've been planning my wedding there since I was a little girl. My parents have been members for 20 years. That was supposed to be my place. How could you go behind my back like this? I sat on my couch, stunned and hurt. In 15 years of friendship, Sarah had mentioned Oakwood occasionally, but never as her non-negotiable future wedding venue. And she wasn't even dating anyone seriously, let alone engaged. I had no idea you felt this strongly, I texted back. You never told me this was important to you. I shouldn't have to spell everything out. Best friends just know these things. I showed the messages to Tom, who frowned deeply. That's not fair to you, Ratch. You can't be expected to read her mind. The next morning, Melissa called. Sarah's on the warpath, she warned. She called me crying last night saying you betrayed her. She's telling everyone who'll listen. My stomach dropped. What should I do? Give her some space, Melissa advised. She'll calm down eventually. But Sarah didn't calm down. Instead, the situation escalated. She posted a vague but pointed comment on social media: true colors always reveal themselves eventually. Heartbroken to discover someone I considered family would betray me so callously. Mutual friends began texting, asking what happened. Our college group chat buzzed with speculation. Sarah's mother even called my mother, suggesting I reconsider my selfish decision. After a week of silence and social media drama, I asked Sarah to meet for coffee. She arrived 20 minutes late, sunglasses hiding her eyes even inside the dimly lit cafe. I'm sorry you're upset, I began carefully. I honestly had no idea Oakwood meant so much to you. Sarah removed her sunglasses, her eyes red-rimmed. How could you not know? I've talked about it constantly. You've mentioned it was nice, but never as your dream venue. And you're not even engaged, Sarah. So because I'm single, my dreams don't matter? Her voice rose sharply, causing nearby patrons to glance our way. Just because Mark and I broke up last year doesn't mean I won't get married someday. Of course that's not what I meant, I said, trying to keep my voice level. But Tom and I are getting married now. This venue is available now. We love it. If you loved me, you'd choose somewhere else. She leaned forward, intensity blazing in her eyes. There are dozens of venues in Charlotte. I felt a flash of anger. And there will be dozens of dates available at Oakwood by the time you get engaged. It won't be the same. She slammed her hand on the table, coffee sloshing over the rim of her cup. Everyone will think I'm copying you. My wedding will be second-rate, a pale imitation. I stared at her, suddenly seeing something I'd never noticed before, a competitive edge that had always been there, carefully concealed beneath her supportive veneer. How many times had she guided my choices over the years? My apartment conveniently located in a different neighborhood than the one she preferred. The career path that complemented rather than competed with hers. The men she subtly criticized until they disappeared from my life, until Tom, who had somehow escaped her vetting. I'm not changing venues, I said finally. I'm sorry you're hurt, but this isn't about you. Her expression hardened. Fine. Then I can't be your maid of honor. The statement hung between us like a gauntlet thrown down. Though it hurt, part of me felt relieved. If that's how you feel, I understand. As I walked home, my phone dinged with a notification. Sarah had removed her maid of honor status from her social profiles and replaced it with a lengthy post about prioritizing one's mental health and walking away from toxic people. That night, Tom held me while I cried. Maybe we should look at other venues, he suggested gently. Is it worth losing your best friend? I considered it, tempted to give in just to restore peace. But something had shifted. "No," I said finally. "This isn't really about the venue. If I give in now, she'll always expect me to prioritize her feelings over our decisions." Over the next few weeks, the situation deteriorated further. Sarah began hanging out with Eliza, a peripheral friend who had always openly envied my close relationship with Sarah. Suddenly, they were inseparable, posting constant photos of dinners, shopping trips, and weekend getaways, activities that had once been our tradition. "She's trying to replace you," Melissa observed over wine one evening. "And make you jealous." What hurt more were the rumors reaching me through our social circle. Sarah was telling people I'd known all along about her attachment to Oakwood but had deliberately stolen it to one-up her after her painful breakup with Mark. "She's saying you're jealous. She was always the center of attention, and you saw this as your chance to steal the spotlight," my cousin reported after a chance encounter with Sarah at a mutual friend's baby shower. The final blow came when Sarah convinced the florist I'd been working with to drop me as a client. "She told them you were impossible to work with and would ruin their reputation," Melissa revealed, having heard it directly from the florist's assistant, an old classmate. Hurt transformed into indignation, then into cold, clear anger. This was no longer about a misunderstanding. Sarah was actively trying to sabotage my wedding. "Enough," Tom said firmly when I showed him the latest text from a vendor who'd mysteriously become overbooked for our date. "We need to stop this." I nodded, a plan already forming. "You're right. It's time to take control of this narrative." First, I meticulously documented every instance of Sarah's interference, screenshots of her social media posts, texts from friends reporting her comments, the suspicious timing of vendors backing out. I created a private online document, organizing everything chronologically. Then, I reached out individually to our closest friends, not to complain about Sarah, but to calmly explain my side of the story. "I value transparency," I told each of them. "And I want you to hear directly from me what happened." Most were relieved to finally understand the situation. Many admitted that Sarah's version had seemed increasingly exaggerated and vindictive as time passed. Next, I contacted Oakwood's management, explaining that a disgruntled former friend might attempt to interfere with our booking. The event's director, alarmed, added extra security measures to our contract and file. The vendors who had dropped us received a similar approach, professional, calm, and accompanied by glowing references from other clients and vendors who had worked with us. 2 immediately reached out to apologize and offered to reconsider. Rather than fight Sarah's social media campaign, I simply stopped posting about wedding planning entirely. Instead, Tom and I focused on community service projects, subtly showcasing our values without ever mentioning Sarah. When my grandmother unexpectedly passed away, the condolence post Sarah wrote was effusive and dramatic, positioning herself as my chief supporter despite her conspicuous absence during my grief. The performance was so transparent that several friends messaged me privately, finally seeing what I'd been dealing with. The turning point came 3 months before our wedding. At a mutual friend's engagement party, Sarah arrived with Eliza and spent the evening regaling the table with stories about the perfect maid of honor weekend she was planning for Eliza's sister, coincidentally scheduled for the same weekend as what would have been my bachelorette party. As she spoke, I noticed the uncomfortable glances exchanged around the table. Sarah had miscalculated, pushing her performance too far. Even Eliza looked embarrassed. After dinner, James, a normally quiet friend from college, approached me on the balcony. "You know, Rachel, I've watched this whole thing unfold, and I've never seen anyone handle such blatant manipulation with more grace." His words validated months of carefully controlled responses. "Thank you," I said simply. "It's been challenging." "Sarah showed everyone who she really is," he continued. "No smear campaign necessary on your part." That night marked a shift in the social dynamics. Invitations began including me but excluding Sarah. Friends checked in more frequently. Even Eliza slowly distanced herself, perhaps recognizing she might be the next friend discarded when no longer useful. 1 week before the wedding, I received an unexpected text from Sarah, I think we should talk before your big day. I miss you. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted reconciliation, to have my old friend back. But the larger part recognized this as another manipulation, a last-minute attempt to insert herself into my wedding narrative when she realized her exclusion was damaging her social standing. I appreciate you reaching out, I replied carefully. But I think it's best we give each other space right now. I wish you well, Sarah. Our wedding day at Oakwood was everything we'd dreamed. The sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks as we exchanged vows on the terrace. Melissa stood beside me as my maid of honor, steadfast and genuinely supportive. During the reception, I noticed a familiar figure watching through the grand windows from the parking lot. Sarah stood alone, observing the celebration she had excluded herself from. Our eyes met briefly before she turned and walked away. Later that night, as Tom and I danced under the stars, he whispered, "Are you sad she wasn't here?" I considered the question carefully. "I'm sad about losing who I thought she was," I answered truthfully. But that person never really existed. As we drove away from Oakwood, rice and flower petals still clinging to our clothes, I felt an unexpected sense of gratitude. Sarah's betrayal had revealed a strength in me I hadn't known existed and had clarified which relationships truly deserved my investment. 3 months after our wedding, I received a small package in the mail. Inside was a vintage silver frame holding a photo of Sarah and me from college, arms wrapped around each other, laughing into the camera. The note simply read, "I'm sorry. Some dreams aren't worth the cost." I placed the frame on my bookshelf, neither prominently displayed nor hidden away, a reminder of a chapter closed but not forgotten. Whether Sarah's apology was sincere or another calculated move in our complicated history, I couldn't be certain. And surprisingly, I realized it no longer mattered. The true wedding gift had been the clarity that came from weathering this storm. As Tom and I built our new life together, I carried forward not bitterness, but wisdom, about friendship, about boundaries, and about the quiet power of choosing your own path, even when that path leads away from those you once thought would walk beside you forever. What Sarah never discovered was how deeply her betrayal had forced me to examine every aspect of our friendship. In the weeks after our wedding, I found myself revisiting old memories with new perspective. The college internship she'd encouraged me to decline because it wouldn't suit my personality, the same internship she applied for the following week. The boyfriends she'd subtly criticized until I ended things, only to later confess she'd always found them attractive. The countless times she'd accidentally worn white to other friends' weddings, drawing attention away from the brides. I should have seen it sooner, I admitted to Tom one evening as we sorted through wedding photos. There were so many warning signs. "Sometimes we only see what we're ready to see," he replied, squeezing my hand. "And some people are experts at hiding their true nature." 6 months after our wedding, I ran into Eliza at a charity event. Her usual confidence seemed diminished, her smile tight when she spotted me across the room. "Rachel," she said, approaching cautiously during cocktail hour. "You look well." "Thank you. So do you." The awkward silence stretched between us. Finally, she blurted out, "I owe you an apology. I believed things about you that weren't true." I sipped my champagne, waiting. Eliza fidgeted with her bracelet. "Sarah and I aren't friends anymore," she continued. She did to me what she did to you. Made up stories about me to other friends. Used things I told her in confidence against me. "I'm sorry that happened to you," I said sincerely. "How did you handle it so gracefully? Everyone talks about how you never stooped to her level, never retaliated." It made her look worse in the end. I considered my response carefully. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well and letting toxic people reveal themselves without your help. Eliza nodded slowly. "She's running out of friends. Did you know she's telling people she broke things off with you because you became obsessed with her after she got engaged?" My eyebrows shot up. "Sarah's engaged? To Mark again?" They got back together last month. She's already booked Oakwood for next summer. Eliza's expression was meaningful. Apparently she's always dreamed of getting married there. I felt a strange mixture of amusement and vindication. Sarah had come full circle, returning to the boyfriend she'd frequently complained about and the venue she'd accused me of stealing. I wish her happiness, I said, surprised to find I meant it. The anger that had once burned so fiercely had cooled, leaving only a calm certainty that I was better off without her manipulations in my life. Later that night, I received a text from an unknown number. "She's lying about you again. Thought you should know. Screenshots attached if you want them." It was from James, our college friend who had spoken to me at the engagement party. I hesitated before opening the attachments, screenshots of a private group chat where Sarah was weaving elaborate fictions about me sabotaging her relationship with Mark and trying to turn the wedding planning community against her. Tom found me staring at my phone. "Everything okay?" I showed him the messages, then deleted them without responding. "It doesn't matter anymore." "You're not going to defend yourself?" he asked, surprised. "There's no need. The people who matter know the truth. And Sarah." I paused, finally understanding something fundamental. Sarah will never have what she really wants. Which is contentment. She'll always be looking over her shoulder, comparing herself to others, fighting imaginary battles. That's punishment enough. 3 weeks later, an embossed invitation arrived in our mailbox. Sarah and Mark saved the date for their Oakwood wedding. My name was handwritten on the envelope. "Are we going?" Tom asked, eyebrows raised. I traced the gold lettering, considering. Accepting would signal forgiveness, perhaps open the door to reconciliation. Declining would maintain the boundary I'd established. Neither option felt entirely right. In the end, I chose a third path. I sent a beautiful crystal vase with a simple note, "Wishing you all the happiness your heart can hold. I won't be attending, but I sincerely hope your day is everything you've dreamed." No accusations. No bitterness. No lingering desire for her to fail. Just the quiet dignity of someone who had moved on. 2 days before Sarah's wedding, Melissa called me, her voice tight with suppressed excitement. "You won't believe what happened. The Oakwood ballroom flooded last night. Burst pipe. They've cancelled all events for the next month." I felt a momentary flicker of satisfaction before pushing it aside. "That's terrible. Is Sarah okay?" "She's frantic. Calling every venue in Charlotte. But everything's booked for June weddings." Melissa paused. "Rachel, the country club called me. They know we're friends with Sarah." "Why would they call you?" "Because my cousin works there, remember? She says they have an opening at their sister property, that new resort by the lake. Apparently, someone just cancelled their booking for next weekend. She thought maybe you could let Sarah know. Coming from you." I understood the unspoken suggestion. This was a chance to be magnanimous, to rise above our history and offer Sarah a lifeline. It would be the ultimate proof that I had moved beyond petty rivalry. But it would also reopen a door I had firmly closed. "Text me the contact information," I said after a long moment. "I'll pass it along." When Sarah's number appeared on my phone that evening, I almost didn't answer. Finally, on the 4th ring, I picked up. "Rachel." Her voice was raw, vulnerable in a way I'd rarely heard. "Thank you. I don't deserve your help after everything. It's just a phone number, Sarah. Not forgiveness." A pause. "I understand. But I am sorry. For everything. I see now how toxic I was. Therapy has helped me recognize some patterns." I remained silent, not trusting the sincerity of 11th-hour apologies born from desperation. "Would you?" She hesitated. "Would you consider coming to the wedding? Not as a bridesmaid or anything. It would mean a lot to have you there. The invitation hung in the air between us, weighted with years of friendship, betrayal, and complicated history. I thought of all the moments we'd shared, the genuine laughter, the shoulders cried on, the secrets kept. And I thought of the manipulation, the subtle undermining, the campaign to damage my reputation. I need to go, I said finally. I wish you and Mark every happiness, Sarah. I really do. As I ended the call, I felt a chapter truly closing. Not with dramatic confrontation or satisfying revenge, but with the quiet recognition that some relationships, no matter how significant, aren't meant to last forever. And that letting go, completely, without malice or attachment to outcome, is sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself. Tom found me on the porch swing, watching the sunset. Sarah, he asked, sitting beside me. Yes. And? I leaned my head against his shoulder. And nothing. It's done. He nodded, understanding everything I wasn't saying. We sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell, the future stretching before us, unburdened by past betrayals, uncluttered by toxic connections, open to new friendships built on stronger foundations. Sometimes the most profound revenge isn't found in the downfall of those who hurt you, but in the freedom that comes from releasing the need for vindication altogether. In the quiet acknowledgement that you've outgrown the battlefield, leaving your opponent to fight alone against shadows of their own making.